Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and you might be looking at this and be wondering, why am I going to look at a box of Oreos? Well, I'm actually not. This is an epic box, or at least I assume it is, of dinosaur figures, or at least I assume it is, sent to me by my good friend Paleo Plastics Reviews. He has sent over many packages over the last few years, and he always sends the stuff over without even really telling me. Sometimes he'll let me know, but sometimes they just show up, like in this case, and it's always filled with the most amazing stuff, and I really cannot wait to open this up and dive into it. Again, I'm not expecting this to actually be Oreos, but it is a pretty nice little tin Oreo container that he sent them over in. Like, that's actually quite nice looking. But very, very interested to see what we have inside this box. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. And obviously you can see it's very nicely packaged in there. So we're gonna move it out of screen and start seeing what we have in there. Actually, I guess we could just pull this open ourselves and see what we have. I'm not really sure how to... Oh boy. Okay, so I can already see what we've got in here. Let's just pull them over here and then bring them out one by one. We've got ourselves Starlux figures. He is actually responsible for almost my entire Starlux collection. I think I maybe acquired one figure by myself before he started gifting me all of these incredibly rare Starlux figures. And again, obviously, as we can see, he has done so again, and we clearly have the Smilodon here. And honestly, these figures are so nice, and they are so much better, I think, than people often give them credit for. They are so underrated for their time, and for their time were some of the best prehistoric figures anywhere. That is an absolutely awesome Smilodon. I guess now that we know what we have here, we can actually lower the camera, and then maybe we could put some of them all back here. The next one we have is... okay, this one is awesome. We have the Starlux Archelon, and that is incredible. There are so few figures out for this species, and I actually did not even realize at the time, or at least I'd imagine this is the Archelon, but I did not even realize that Starlux had one of these out, so that is extremely, extremely cool. They don't unfortunately put, well, actually, I wouldn't even say it's unfortunate, but they don't put the names anywhere so you can immediately tell what species it is. But if I were a betting man, I would say that that's what we've got here. And that is, again, a really, really cool figure. That one is one that I'm really happy to have adding to my collection. We've also got the Starlux Allosaurus. That is amazing because, again, these are all figures that I did not have previously. And of course, he knows that because, like I said earlier, he is the one that is responsible for pretty much my entire Starlux collection. And I feel like at this rate, at some point, my collection will end up being complete entirely, pretty much thanks to him. So as always, before I even finish unboxing all of these, I have to give a massive shout out and thank you to him for being unbelievable and hooking me up with some of the coolest stuff that I have in my collection. And that is an absolutely awesome vintage style Allosaurus. And it somehow gets even better because there is a Diplodocus in here as well, or at least I'm pretty sure that's what we have. I mean, obviously that head gives it away, but wow, I didn't even know they had one of these either, and I love this species. Absolutely adore this species, so now having a Starlux version of it is honestly insane. It's actually so nicely, like there's some really nice kind of bumpy skin detail or like bumpy texturing, which looks really neat. That is an unreal figure, and one that, again, I didn't even know existed. Okay, this one is awesome as well. We have an Ouranosaurus in the line. This one I did know of. I did know this one existed, and again, it is a super nice looking vintage style version of this dinosaur. That is awesome. I love that species as well. Somehow, he's acquired some of the coolest species all here in this one box. And here's another incredible one. We have an Endotheodon, and that is also super cool. And again, look at how well sculpted these figures are for their time. Like, they are fantastic, and this is actually a species I don't have in my collection. So not only is it, of course, a Starlux figure I didn't have, but it's, in general, a species I didn't have. So that makes it twice as special, which honestly I think might be the first one out of this group as far as species go. But it's unreal how many species that Starlux had in their line. Like, they had such a massive line of prehistoric figures, and like I said, they just don't get nearly enough credit for how incredible these figures were for their time. Honestly, and still are today. I almost didn't even see this one! We've got the Diatrima! That is awesome too. I love these species of birds. Pretty much any style of prehistoric bird is always something I'm so interested in. And that is an absolutely gorgeous looking figure. Like, that sculpt is so nicely done for its time. Heck, by today's standards, I would say it's even still nicely done. I really love the feeding pose on this one as well. Like, it's clearly down on the ground eating or something. Man, oh man, that is a super, super cool figure. I could not be happier already, and we're only like halfway through. And here is another amazing one, and it might be actually the biggest Starlux figure that I have. This is their Mastodon, and man, look at how nice the actual sculpt is of this. Like, seriously, when I say these guys were underrated, especially for their time, but heck, even by today's standards, I feel like they're underrated. Like, the fine detail on that is super, super impressive, and I think the tusks potentially were removable. Yep, see? You can see they are removable, which is actually pretty awesome that this one does in fact have the tusks, because that's something that was definitely easily lost for this one. But that is awesome. Super impressive shape for that as well. Another incredible figure, and now probably the largest of the Starlux that I have. And quickly coming in to try to battle that spot is the Starlux Triceratops, and look at how awesome looking he is. That is such a vintage version of a Triceratops. Nice tone of color. Surprisingly, they chose like a purplish tone of color for their Triceratops. But that again is super cool. I'm going to go ahead and say the Mastodon is still the biggest, but that Triceratops is pretty large. Then we've got ourselves the Diplodocus, and what an awesome figure this one is. Looking almost Invicta-ish, I would say, as far as the sculpt. I think this is the version 2 of the Diplodocus, if I remember correctly, but that is definitely one of the best looking vintage style Diplodocus figures I have ever seen. That thing is incredible. The next one is another prehistoric mammal. We have the Platybelodon, and look at how cool that is. Another species that I don't have very many of. I have some, but not nearly as much as I would like. But that is, again, really well done. I actually really quite like the paintwork for that one. Like, the tones of color used are very natural, and the transitions are very smooth. It's a really nicely painted figure. And the final one is this beauty. We have an Anatosaurus, or at least I'm pretty sure that's what this one is. And again, about as vintage as you are going to find when it comes to a prehistoric duck-billed dinosaur figure. That thing is super, super cool. Pretty much exactly the way I remember, you know, all the books and everything having Anatosaurus all over it back when I was a kid, portrayed exactly like this. So that is pretty much like a piece of my childhood brought to life right there. So as you can see, here is actually, like, this is a really bad way to show everything off, because they're just kind of like covering some of the lower lying figures. There's so many more hiding in here. There we go. Now everything's better looking. And this is the entire lineup that he has just sent over to me, adding another ton of incredible Starlux figures to my collection. And again, some beautiful species, some beautiful figures, some stuff that pretty much I never expected to one day own, and he has supplied me with a lot of that in my collection. He is consistently kind of just sending these boxes over filled with insane stuff that I could not be more thankful for. So a massive shout out and thank you again to my buddy Paleo Plastics Reviews, being insanely cool and just one of the most generous people on the planet. Thank you so much, my friend. Another epic box and another epic lot of Starlux figures to head up onto my shelf and further my goal of one day completing this collection. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think of these, if you happen to have any in your collection, and like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.